Breaking right now, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's left-wing media machine are at it again. And this time, I'm really angry. The left-wing New York Times, remember, that is a publication that the Sussexes have worked closely with.
The New York Times, let's be real here, has always been in Meghan's corner. They've run her essays, promoted her truth-telling, and given her the sympathetic coverage she craves. So when their London bureau chief Mark Landler drops a piece claiming Charles looks weak and William looks work-shy because a family rift hasn't been healed, nobody's surprised. But people are still angry. The article basically framed Charles as this beleaguered king who's too distracted by Harry's drama to properly settle into his reign.
For many years, Meghan gave them her only newspaper interview for the launch of her Netflix series With Love. She's also even written for them in the past about her miscarriage, her apparent miscarriage. So what they have done in this new analysis piece, and it's so shocking to me, is blame King Charles and attack Prince William, who they're claiming to be work shy, and saying that the rift in the royal family, totally caused by the Sussexes, by the way, will reflect badly on the legacy of King Charles III. Angela Levin, before we go through the details of this story, it's sickening, isn't it, to think that there are still some people in the mainstream media who can have all of the facts presented to them, who can see the behaviour of Harry and Meghan over so many years, and yet still find a way to blame it on anyone but them, continue to perpetuate their victim narrative.
My first question, whoever wrote this, I would say, are you married? Do you have children? Because that makes a huge difference. It's easy for someone who's not married and doesn't have children, and not close to children, to make all these dramas and say what they should be doing. But if they were in King Charles's shoes, they would not be able to do that. One is, if you can't trust your son to just listen to you and not actually sell what you're saying to somebody else, you could talk to him. You could talk to him if he didn't ask you to start telling the government what they should be doing and what they shouldn't, because it's not that type of monarchy. And the fact that somebody pretends they want to come back, but at the same time, this is Harry, pretends that, but at the same time actually says how revolting they're doing and how bad they are and how they don't know what they're doing and they're trapped and all those nasty comments. So if somebody does that to you and you've got cancer, would he answer in that same way? That's what I would ask. And I bet you any money that he won't have fitted in anywhere there. It's just really nasty. They're just having a go and being very, very rude.
Of course they are. Well, you ask who wrote it, Angela. It's this man, Mark Landler, the London bureau chief of the New York Times. So he's their big gun in London, okay? So this article is very much The View, because we know the New York Times is not a legitimate impartial news organization. This is the view of the New York Times. So let's just go through some of the key points of the article, Angela. So Mark Landler in the New York Times writes, King Charles III was busy last week marking the 80th anniversary of the Allied victory over Nazi Germany and preparing to fly to Canada to open its parliament later this month. But his public schedule was eclipsed yet again by a highly publicised eruption from his estranged younger son, Prince Harry. It has become a familiar pattern for the 76-year-old monarch. 2 years after his coronation, his reign is shaping up as both eventful and oddly unchanging in its core narrative, that of a beleaguered father managing a messy brood. Harry's emotional plea to be reconciled with his family resurfaced bitter eruptions within the royal family, which has yet to find its footing in the still fledgling Carolina age. There is an overhang in the way we see Charles's reign, said Ed Owens, a historian who writes about the British monarchy. It hasn't really gotten going, nor are we sure how long it will last.
According to Landler, unless Charles finds a way to fix things with Harry, his reign risks being defined by division, not unity. One royal historian even claimed it could damage Charles's legacy. But here's the problem. That's completely backwards. The rift wasn't created by Charles or William. It was created by Harry and Meghan. They were the ones who ran off to Oprah, Netflix, and Spotify, throwing grenades at the institution while cashing in on their royal titles. Yet, somehow, the Times thinks Charles is the one who needs to heal the wounds.
Some royal watchers warn that unless Charles finds a way to heal that rift, it could define his reign, undercutting the messages of tolerance and inclusiveness that he has long championed. When history comes to be written about the king, this will reflect badly on him, said Peter Hunt, a former royal correspondent for the BBC. He represents an institution that is about family, unity, and fostering forgiveness. His role is to bring people together, and yet he can't bring people together on his doorstep. The palace appealed to journalists not to focus on the family drama during a week dedicated to VE Day commemorations. Far from calming the waters, Mr. Hunt said that had the effect of keeping the spotlight on Harry longer than necessary. It's a private issue, but they are using the full weight of the institution to respond to him, Mr. Hunt said. Now, Angela, I think this is one of the most horrendously biased New York Times articles I have ever read. That's saying something, by the way, because can I just remind everyone, Angela, the New York Times despises Britain, especially post-Brexit Britain. They are always looking for ways to pour a bucket of mud over the head of Brits and our population and our politics. In some ways, this doesn't surprise me, but I just think it's so fundamentally dishonest because to try and say that Charles and William will come out of this rift with Harry and Meghan on the wrong side of history, I think is so naive, Angela. Just like Wallace Simpson and the Duke of Windsor, mark my words, the people who are going to come out badly of this terrible past few years is not King Charles, is not William, is not Catherine, is not Camilla, it's Harry and Meghan themselves, because they have been exposed on an international stage for lying to try and destroy their family. And guess what, Angela? It didn't work because their public support is at rock bottom, and actually support for the monarchy, support for Charles, support for William has stayed pretty solid.
Yes, I mean, the interesting thing is you have to think, how long does a father take responsibility for his child's behavior? Harry is now over 40. Isn't he a grown man? Doesn't he have to accept the wrong things that he's doing and the ridiculous relationship he has with a woman who loves to destroy things? He can't stop that, but he doesn't have to be responsible for it. It's a ridiculous attitude, and I don't think that that's how you can be in that sort of, it's always the parents' fault. I don't think it is. And he had a very, very disturbed childhood. Okay, we understand that. But lots of people lose a parent of one kind or another. And like William, they can build it over. You can get better from it up to a certain extent. You'll never forget it because it's the most terrible thing that can happen to a child. But you don't expect that it's the father who's got to take that all the time. And William has looked after Harry ever since he was very small. He's always helped him out before school, after school, when they were both learning how to fly. Harry said to me that actually William is the only person he can really trust, and that they can say anything to each other and they will always forgive something. They are so close, and they've got a very unusual lifestyle. Indeed, they have, because they have to have police going to check if they want to go to a friend from school's house, that there's no danger there. They have to look after them all the time. Someone's always there with them. Of course, it's difficult, but William has done his best. And actually, when he said to Harry, be careful, don't rush to get married so quickly. Maybe you need to be with her a bit longer so that you can really get to know each other. Bang. Harry
That was
didn't
it.
want to
That was it,
anymore.
exactly. And what William was trying to do was protect him. Angela, what I
Yes.
do find astonishing, though, in terms of the mainstream media coverage, it's like they are always trying to defend the indefensible and also find angles, right, to somehow.
Here's the bottom line. Harry and Meghan wanted freedom, money, and control of their own narrative. They got it, but they also burned bridges and lost credibility along the way. Now, the media that once championed them is struggling to keep the sympathy act alive. And in doing so, they are willing to twist reality, painting Charles and William as villains in a drama that Harry himself created.
I guess, perpetuate a positive narrative about Meghan. And Liz Jones in the Daily Mail has now done another 180 because she started as a big fan, right, Angela? Then she became a critic. Now she's saying, after those Beyonce pictures, the startling truth about Meghan and Harry's relationship after their big night out and why it's a lesson for Charles and the royals. And I'm like, Angela, look at those pictures again, right? Gross, all over each other, acting like Kardashians. What on earth can Liz Jones think is the lesson for Charles and the royals out of this?
No, but I don't listen to her really. I mean, her relationships have been unbelievable. She's not been someone who's actually studied relationships. She's earned a very, very good living to tell readers about her own relationships, which, make you gasp sometimes if you read it. So it's a nonsense. It's not Harry. It's not Charles's thing to responsibility. But what she did do, and that makes her slightly better in my eyes, as you will appreciate now, is that she said that Camilla was much better because she didn't try and turn somebody into someone who was not that person, and that she was very relaxed and easy with Charles. And that's what made a very happy relationship. But Meghan is one, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, you cannot please her. She's not pleased with anything. If she has a dress that costs £10,000, the next one she wants that's even more expensive. Whatever it is, she can't feel that now I'm relaxed. I've got what I wanted. I've got a husband I love at home, 2 children at home, and I now have got my own things. I'm cooking this and boiling that. I'm so happy. This is what I've wanted. It's not. It's fighting and fighting for more. Somebody
Well,
who is
Angela,
so
even if
desperate.
she's happy, look at the impact it's had on Prince Harry. I was so shocked when someone did this side by side of him in 2021 compared to him in 2025. I mean, it doesn't look like he's aged 4 years. It looks like he's aged about 4 decades. And at the same time, Angela, there's all of this talk about this doorbell picture. What the hell was he doing, strutting up and down on his own these streets of London, looking wired on his phone? And I want to show you, Angela, before I get your reaction, some of Link Lauren, who's a brilliant guest here sometimes on Outspoken, really sharp American commentator who's just launched his own podcast, Spot On, as part of the Megyn Kelly MK network. And this was his take, Angela.
But outside of media bubbles, most people see through it. They see a king doing his duty despite illness, a future king building a stable family, and a brother who chose resentment over reconciliation. The legacies are writing themselves, and no biased article can rewrite that. So, to wrap it all up,
camera. He's talking on the phone. Some of you commented, he looks like he was trying to score. People said he looks like he's trying to score drugs. I thought maybe he's going for an afternoon delight. Maybe he's going for a hookup, as some of you in the business world call it. Maybe he's going for a little nooner. If I weren't here during this show, I'd probably go get a little nooner myself, but I have to work, unlike Prince Harry. So one person said the housekeeper answered the door for Harry, but she did not recognize him. This is tough. If Prince Harry shows up at your door, you would probably recognize him, but this is how much he's been gone from the royal family. So Prince Harry wants us to believe that the UK is so unsafe he could never bring his children to his homeland. I could never go. I don't have security. I need the police to follow me around. He is a liar. That is a bunch of buffoonery, tomfoolery, and malarkey, because clearly the man is going door to door like a gigolo. You call an order on the phone looking for his friend. He's looking for his friend, Prince Harry. You're out there looking for your friend. I'm sure you are looking for your friend because you didn't want to go back to Meghan Markle. Now, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, they are going overboard to show you they are in love. And they do this anytime William and Catherine are in the news.
I think Link's got a lot of that spot on, which is obviously the name of his new podcast, Angela. But what did
He's
you
very
make
funny.
of, he's great,
very
isn't
funny.
he? But what did you make, as Prince Harry's biographer, what did you make of this very worrying picture? And is there something dodgy going on?
Well, what struck me was that when I was going round with him to engagements and everything was laid out for him, the aides, he didn't need to know where he was going. He would be taken there, no trouble at all, nothing. It was just very, very easy. But here, he'd forgotten the address, apparently, of so-called friends, and he didn't know what to do. Well, it showed me that in the 5 years since he's left being a member of the royal family, he doesn't know how to find a place. He hasn't learned yet that if you want to go, and you have to be absolutely sure, especially if you're scared of walking down the street and there's nobody there to look after you, you don't go knocking on a door, because it's dangerous. You should know that by 40 years old, but also that he needs to write it down, get a phone number, which he apparently hadn't got, and actually check, is the person in, ring them up. It's modern age, and find out if it's all right if you pop round. But actually, this was a desperation of somebody who had to find someone who would talk to him and be friendly.
Angela, what do you make of the fact that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are touting these new staff members? So for Meghan,
Yeah.
she's hired an ex-assistant to Bill Gates as her chief of staff, this poor woman called Sarah Fossmo. Oh, God, you've got the worst job in the world, love. What are you thinking? I hope they're paying you enough. But what's interesting, Angela, is that Harry, who, remember, failed to find a chief of staff to replace Josh Kettler, who was only there for less than 3 months. He left before his trial period ended. Has promoted someone called Leanne Cashnin. Now, she might be a great woman for all I know, but she was just his former assistant, his former EA, like a PA, a runaround to do stuff. Now, again, nothing wrong with backing your own people, but it's interesting, isn't it? These hires almost look to me as if Harry is almost giving up and saying, I just need someone to help me out. Meghan is now driving the business. At the same time, how is this Sarah Posno going to relaunch a business which is completely tanking?
The New York Times tried to dump blame on Charles and William. Commentators pushed back, pointing out Harry's 40, not 14. Meghan's still difficult, still chasing doomed projects, still bleeding staff. Harry looks lost in London, literally and figuratively. Even his childhood priest told him to grow up. Meanwhile, William and Kate continue to show what stability and quiet strength look like. And that's why, in the long run, it won't be Charles or William's reputations in tatters. It'll be Harry and Meghan.